I've decided to make this video without my glasses, based on the fact that for 45 years I didn't wear glasses. It's only been in the last 5 years, so I don't really recognise myself in glasses. Um, but that means actually I can't see anything. Um, so that's a bit weird. I mean, I'm just a sort of vague thing on the laptop, vague grey, pale, and dark shape. Anyway, um, it's vanity. Everything is vanity, to quote Ecclesiastes. But anyway, last week I went and saw 4 Shakespeare plays over 3 days. The RSC's production of what they call the Great Cycle of Kings, Richard II, Henry IV Part 1, Henry IV Part 2, and Henry V. David Tennant played Richard II. It's one of my favourite plays. It's, in a sense, almost entirely internal, it feels. And he's an incredibly interesting character, Richard II, sort of kind of capricious, vain, indulgent, but yet also sort of poetic and philosophic. David Tennant, the best production I've ever seen was the TV version of The Hollow Crown with Ben Whishaw and Rory Kinnear. Both of them extraordinary. David Tennant, I find him difficult. He's a very charismatic and intelligent actor, but he's so familiar to me because I have young children. We watch sort of every one of his Doctor Who's. I feel almost he's like a friend of mine. And therefore he's very odd to see on the stage. He also doesn't have a particularly resonant voice. It's quite a thin voice. And so but I do feel that he created a very interesting character arc. He went from being a sort of dandy through to a great tragic figure. The production over the 4 plays was very odd. It's sort of all the costumes seem to be sort of time neutral. Sometimes they were sort of robes. Sometimes they seem to be sort of just sort of leather jackets. It didn't give you any context, and it didn't add to the aesthetic. I mean, actually, I thought it was. The design was not particularly interested. The set was more interesting, but we weren't looking at a set design or production design of genius. The direction was interesting. There was a lot played for laughs, and made me feel that comedy is easier than tragedy. I think it's easier to make an audience laugh than to move them. Henry IV Part 1 is one of Shakespeare's great plays, and Falstaff is arguably Shakespeare's greatest creation, and in this production it was played by Anthony Sher. I mean, it's a cliche to say it was a masterclass, but it was. It was as though he was just different in kind rather than degree to any of the actors on the stage. And one of the most extraordinary moments, which was repeated throughout his performance, is the way Falstaff just stopped the action. He would just sort of almost turn to the audience, and the action would cease, and he would deliver his thoughts about the world, about wit, about sack, about this and about that. And it does feel as though that's a very insightful comment on the Falstaff character. Falstaff doesn't play by even temporal rules. He's that big a character. He has that much energy. That even time is something he can just sort of overcome through the sheer size and weight and mass of personality. And but you need an extraordinary actor to pull that off, to be able to essentially say all the drama and energy and momentum of this play stops while I speak at my pace, in my time. And he did that first night, second night, and you just wanted him to be on stage all the time. And that's the genius of Falstaff, and the genius of playing Falstaff well is you just want to be with him. And that, because most importantly, that makes you understand why Hal supplants his father, the king, with Falstaff, because he has that much charisma, he has that much attraction, he's an attracting force. Big masses, he's big, have greater forces of gravity. So it's kind of a replication of that physical law is important with Falstaff. And it's also important for that moment, and this is a spoiler, I guess, but if you haven't read it, when Hal ultimately rejects him, and then in Henry V, when we learn he's dead, it's, even though he's not present at all in Henry V, this is the death of a great man. So it was an indifferent production, but with an extraordinary central performance. I even had to go and buy the DVD so I could show my children, who are 12 years old, which I haven't yet, because it was just an absolute delight. Henry V, which I don't know very well, it's never really interested me. It seems to me a kind of jingoistic, nationalistic piece about battles and shit. It's never really my thing. But actually, it's a very entertaining play. It's got more levels than I imagined. It can be very funny at times. And it is moving. The guy, Alex Russell, I think, who plays Henry V and Prince Hal in the previous two plays, I think did a kind of workman-like job. He didn't... something I've never seen in a production of Henry IV Part 1 and 2 is a properly layered Hal. He spends too much of Part 1 sort of cavorting, is that a word? Cavorting. Like a sort of principal boy almost, having too much fun, whereas I think there is a premonition, a kind of presentiment of his responsibility right at the beginning. There is a darkness behind his drunkenness and his diversions in Eastcheap. And he's not a happy drunk. He is a dark, a drunk that is trying to evade his responsibilities, trying to evade himself. And I haven't seen that done, and this guy didn't do it. Certainly Tom Hiddleston in The Hollow Crown didn't do it at all. He went for the whole kind of ha principal boy, thigh slapping, isn't it fun being? It's just for the most part, actors are children and they don't have levels. So great. It takes a great actor to really deliver that kind of gradation of performance, and essentially have someone laughing and cavorting with Falstaff and the other drunks, but still make you feel as though there's something beneath it, some futurity that he's trying to escape, some dark responsibility. And when I think dark, it's the willingness to, or the desire to evade it, that's the darkness, not necessarily how he will then become as a king, because clearly he becomes, in these plays, makes a fairly good fist of it, winning Agincourt and such like. But anyway, I think once again, in different production, and there's a spectacular cameo performance by the Welsh actor playing the Welsh guy. But yeah, it was 4 Shakespeares over 3 days. Henry IV Part 2 was in the afternoon. But it was an absolute delight overall. And for anyone, it's going on tour, so if it lands in your city, in your country, on your continent, I recommend the whole cycle. Um, but Richard I and Henry IV Part 1 are probably the standout plays in this cycle, and Anthony Sher is by far the standout performance. I can't imagine seeing not only a better full staff, but a better performance in anything, really. But that's it. Thank you very much. I shall now put on my glasses so I can see what I'm doing.